everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen and I am here today with another top 10 video. And today I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite TV dramas. So jumping right in, starting with number 10 on the list, we have Friday Night Lights, which is just sort of a childhood favorite of mine. I actually recently rewatched this with my boyfriend. He had never seen it before, and it was a good time. Obviously, the show is a little aged, but I still just really enjoy these characters, most especially Coach Taylor. And I gotta say, that first episode always hooks you right away with that dramatic ending. But for those of you that don't know, this is a show about a town in Texas and it follows the high school football team. But it's not really about football, it's about the connections between these characters. They all start to feel like family. This is definitely a show that you can enjoy even if you don't like football. I personally hate football, but I sure do love this show. This is a show growing up that I used to watch with my mom and my best friend, and my best friend's mom watched it too, so it was just kind of a good show for us girls to bond over. Next, I have a show that I actually just finished watching for the first time. It is a show that my boyfriend got me to watch, and I actually debated between having this show in this spot or The Handmaid's Tale, but since The Handmaid's Tale isn't complete yet, I decided to go with this one, and that is Mr. Robot, which is just a crazy show, let me say. It's got Rami Malek playing a computer hacker, and he's sort of just doing like good deed hacking, like he's hacking people who have inappropriate stuff on their computers and kind of handing them over to the police and things like that. But then he gets recruited into this kind of hacking organization that is going after a little bit bigger of cases, big corporations and things, and he sort of gets in really deep, really quick, a little bit in over his head. But it's got lots of great twists and turns. It's a super intelligent show, and it's got such cool, interesting, unique visuals. And sometimes you don't always quite know what's going on. It's definitely a show that doesn't give everything away right away. Next, number 8 on the list is Game of Thrones, with a big asterisk that I think the first 5 seasons are perfection. Season 6 starts to show a little bit of the cracks. Season 7 is pretty messy, and as we all know, Season 8 is a terrible, horrible hot mess. But still, those first 5 seasons are so good that it still lands in that top 10 for me. I just kind of block out Season 8 from being acknowledged. But I think most people know about or have heard about Game of Thrones. It is a fantasy series, of course, based on the books. I wish more book adaptations would be TV shows rather than movies. Again, this really is a show that shines in the first 5 seasons, the ones that are actually based on the books. And yeah, it's just a really high quality show. I love Daenerys, she's my favorite character. I love her strong moments throughout the show. I like how the first few seasons really just end on strong moments for Dany. Some of the best moments stand out for her. And yeah, just in general, there are a lot of like standout moments and episodes. Obviously, battle episodes are always pretty good. The Red Wedding, I mean, does it get more dramatic than that? And again, much like Friday Night Lights, just lots of characters to really love, and also a few to hate here. Next, number 7, I have another show that my boyfriend introduced me to. This one is unfinished, but it's so good so far, and that is Stranger Things. The new season is coming soon. There was just a trailer. It was so exciting. But yeah, this is one of those ones that gives you just all the 80s vibes, all the 80s sci-fi vibes, which is super fun. I love shows that give shout outs to other shows, so this one is great for me. There's also a little bit of that in Mr. Robot. There are a few episodes in Mr. Robot where there are visual shout outs to other movies, like there's a whole episode that's just got all the Shining vibes. But anyways, back to Stranger Things. I really have enjoyed each and every season so far. I think each is as good as the next. I really enjoyed some of the new characters we got in season 3, and yeah, very excited to see where this one goes in the future. So you may have just noticed a slight angle change among other things, and that is because I totally skipped number 6 the first time I shot this. So number 6 is a little bit of a reshoot here, but it is Downton Abbey, which is another show that I watched with my mom back in the day. It is probably our favorite, collectively between the two of us, our favorite show that we've watched together. It's probably one of the last shows that we watched fully from beginning to end together, because obviously nowadays we don't live in the same house, so while we do watch some of the same shows and talk about them when we see each other or on the phone, we're no longer really watching shows fully together in the same house. So yeah, Downton Abbey was one of our last ones before I moved out, and it was such a good one. We really enjoyed it. This is one that takes place in Britain in like the 1920s at this like big estate house, and the costumes, first of all, are just a joy in and of themselves. I wish that that was still a thing that people would just wear out sometimes, not like all the time. I wouldn't want to have to always wear those clothes, but sometimes it would just be so fun. And some people think this show is a little slow. It kind of gets made fun of for that, but I really enjoy it. I think it's super interesting. Again, if a show has really good characters, it maybe doesn't need to have such a dramatic plot all the time. And like, honestly, the plot is dramatic, even if it's not zombies or superheroes or whatever. Like, people still die on this show. It gets dramatic. So yeah, really loved this show. Did not love the movie that came out a year or so ago, but that is neither here nor there because the show is great. And yeah, I kind of miss having an old English show. I don't have any of those anymore that I'm currently watching. But moving right along to number 5, back to the original video I shot yesterday. Next, number 5, I have Animal Kingdom, which this was on, or is on, TNT. This one's also not done yet, but it came out at the same time as like 3 other TNT shows, and let me tell you, TNT just had a year the year this came out. Animal Kingdom, super awesome, but then also this show Good Behavior came out right around that time, which only lasted for 2 seasons, which is such a crime. It was so good. Claws also came out at this time, which I feel like has become kind of TNT's most popular show. And then also Will came out at this time, which also only lasted like 2 seasons, which I was more okay with because it was interesting, but not as good as some of these other TNT shows. But yeah, TNT just had a really good year a few years back. Came out with a bunch of really good shows. But of those shows, Animal Kingdom was my favorite, so it is the one that made the list. And this is actually adapted from an Australian movie from a few years back. The movie's not nearly as good. And yeah, it follows this teenage boy, Jay, whose mother has just died of an overdose, and he goes to live with his grandmother and her 4 sons, and they're kind of a crime family. They rob banks, but at the beginning of season 1, there's kind of a lot of heat on them. One of them is just getting out of jail, and so they're kind of looking to expand their robbing repertoire. They can't really hit up banks so much anymore since that's what they're known for. And yeah, it's just really good, really action-packed. I would say if you enjoy Sons of Anarchy, this is even better, but not as well known. It always plays in the summer. It's got those summer vibes. They're living on a beach in California, so it's always a fun, action-packed summer show to watch. Next on the list, we have the first one that I don't have on DVD, and that is Daredevil, which streams on Netflix. And this is a Netflix Marvel show. They have kind of a few, they've all wrapped up now, but Daredevil was by far my favorite. This is a show that hooked me from like episode 2 or 3. I've rarely had a show that's hooked me so strongly, so fast. Usually it takes me a while to really get into a show, but this one was just right away. It's got such a gritty cool vibe to it. Obviously it's action-packed because it's a superhero show. It's also got some like really lovable characters. I love Foggy, Daredevil's friend. Season 1 was by far the best. Season 2 had a little bit of a dip, wasn't as good, but then Season 3 was better than Season 2 again, so it kind of went through a bit of a wave there. And unfortunately we only got 3 seasons. Very sad because it was such a good show. So much better than the movie. Next, moving on to the top 3 now, we have Sherlock. Again, like Mr. Robot, just such an intelligently written show. Again, obviously lots of twists and turns. It's a mystery. The acting is so good. Benedict Cumberbatch does such a great job as Sherlock, but even more so, Moriarty. He's the character that I'm really obsessed with on this show. I know a lot of people ship John and Sherlock, but I am a Sherlock and Moriarty shipper big time. I really could just go through the show and just watch the Moriarty scenes and get so much joy out of that. I think I've watched his big scene in the Christmas special episode countless times. The acting is just amazing. He just gives you chills whenever he's on screen. This one is unfortunately kind of a quick one. There's only like 3 episodes a season, and there's only 4 seasons. The episodes are long though, so that helps a little bit. But yeah, I could just use so much more Sherlock. I really like that they had it take place in modern times, and I also like how they kind of play with that sometimes. With Sherlock's Mind Palace, there's one episode where they do kind of send it back to the time when Sherlock usually takes place. And yeah, they just did a lot of interesting things with the original Sherlock stories to update them and, in my opinion, improve them. I did go back and read all the Sherlock stories after watching this show because I was intrigued. All right, number 2 on my list is The Walking Dead. And again, much like Game of Thrones, this has a big asterisk of like, I really love the first 5 seasons and then it starts to go downhill. It's unfortunately still going, even though nowadays it's kind of a trash pile. But this was just a show that I was so excited about when I was watching it in those first 5 seasons. So it still has hung on to its number 2 spot for that nostalgia and loyalty factor. And yeah, all the spin-offs that they're doing, I'm watching them all because I did love it so much, but they're all just not very good. Fear, it's not that great, especially nowadays. It also has just gotten worse, I feel. I did watch that World Beyond that came out this year. Also not very good. I'm going to watch the Daryl and Carol spinoff. I don't have super high expectations, but wow, were those first 5 seasons good. And Daryl is my favorite character, and I do ship him and Carol so hard. I've been waiting so long. They're basically the only reason that I'm still watching. But yeah, this is just a show where the characters are constantly in danger and you care about them so much. This is a pretty big found family trope, which is my favorite trope, so that really gets me just to really love all the characters. I'm known to yell at the screen when characters are about to die. Even characters that I don't care about that much, just because I know that characters that I do care about them. For example, spoiler alert, when Merle was in danger in season 2, season 3, whenever that happened, I literally screamed out for Daryl to like come save him because I knew that it would kill Daryl if he didn't manage to save him. But yeah, this one was a little bit slower to hook me though. I wasn't so sure all the way through season 1 and a lot of season 2. The thing that really got me hooked to the show was the big reveal halfway through season 2 with what was going on with Sophia. That was a big twist, and that was it. I was like, okay, I am obsessed with this show. But yeah, also much like Friday Night Lights, how it's not really about football, this show is not really about zombies. As I said, the big trope is the found family that's here, and to me that's what the show is really about, is this family that has found each other that never would have interacted in the regular world, but now because of what's going on, they are suddenly this like super tight-knit family, and I just love them all so much. But yeah, then we started losing some of the bigger characters and the show just kind of went downhill from there. It probably should have been put out of its misery a couple seasons ago. My dream ending for the show would have been Rick dying and Carl kind of becoming the leader, and it kind of ending on this hopeful note where like everything's not fixed, but Carl's still alive, and so there's hope for the next generation. That clearly isn't happening. And number one on my list, kind of my new obsession show, my new Walking Dead, if you will, is This Is Us, which is very different than The Walking Dead. It just is my new obsession show. And this one, I, again, like Daredevil, was hooked right away. This one from the very first episode, because it's got that twist ending at the end of the first episode. The only other first episode I can think of that I was as excited about as this one was that show Touch with Kiefer Sutherland a while back. It only lasted like 2 or 3 seasons, and the first episode is almost enough to land the show on this list, despite the fact that it went downhill from the first episode. Like, that's a show where I will just watch the first episode sometimes, and then that's all, I'm done. This one, luckily, did not go downhill after the first episode. It started strong, and it just kept being strong. And this show is just sort of following this family throughout their lives. There's kind of the older timeline that's more so about the parents who are raising 3 children, and then there's like a modern day timeline where it's the 3 kids as adults. And there's just lots of twists and turns and reveals, even though it's just like a family drama. And it's always so interesting and fun to see how like the past timeline connects to the present day timeline. And again, just really love the characters. My personal favorite is Randall. I love him so much. One of my favorite characters in all of television. And yeah, if you don't know, this is just the show that will make you cry almost every episode. I think that's a known fact about This Is Us, but it's really true. So yeah, if you want a show where you can just get out all the feels and cry, be guaranteed to cry almost every episode, this is the show for you. And of course that's part of why it, I think, becomes a favorite, is because it does make you feel so many feels, and so if a show can do that, it must be good, right? So yeah, that was it for my top 10 favorite TV dramas. Let me know down below some of your favorite TV dramas. And now on to the quote for today's video. And today I have a quote from Scott Corbett, and it goes, "I often feel sorry for people who don't read good books. They are missing a chance to lead an extra life." Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.